Hi, my name is Kyra Leroux. I play Britta Beach in Riverdale and Lisa Karen in Firefly Lane, and this is Young Entertainment Mag. It felt really awesome when Britta started to become a more recurring character. When I originally auditioned, I was only supposed to be in one, maybe two episodes of the show, and they just started to keep bringing me back. So that was really cool, and it's been really awesome to see how Britta has changed and grown over the last 2 seasons. Yeah, starting off and playing football and then growing to becoming like Cheryl's little minion, and doing things like singing and dancing and mining and being a witch and being possessed and traveling the dreamscape. So it's been a lot of fun to get to do a whole bunch of different and crazy things on that show. It feels really cool to be working with all the Riverdale cast, especially because I started out as a fan of the show when I was younger and read the Archie comics when I was younger as well. So it's really cool. They're always joking around together and it creates a really fun environment on set. I worked the most with Madeleine, who plays Cheryl, and we developed a really cool bond over the course of Cheryl and Britta living together. We have kind of a big sister, little sister dynamic now, and I really love her, so yeah. I try to approach every character that I play from a different place because I think every character is unique, just like every human is unique. But with Britta, the thing that helped me the most to get into character was to drop into the most natural place in my voice. Britta is a little bit more masculine than I am naturally, so making sure that my energy is dropped like a little bit lower, and you can even hear the change in my voice now as I'm thinking about it. But like my voice is just like a little bit lower and a little bit more like resonating in my throat, if you can hear. That really helped me get into character for Britta, and just to feel really chill and like really strong. When I first booked the role of Britta, I had no clue about football. I didn't know anything about it really. I grew up as a dancer, so I was like, had no picture of what I would look like playing football or how it would feel or anything. So I did a lot of research about football. I watched the Super Bowl and like a few of the games leading up to it. I learned as much as I could about the sport, and I actually was able to use some of my dance training in learning the stunt choreography for the big football scene where I score my touchdown. It's actually really cool because a lot of like the ins and outs and the sort of dance that we do with the other players is actually like learning choreography. So I was able to use my dance skills when we were on the field at 2 a.m. in the mud and the cold, and playing real football. Riverdale is a really fast-paced show, so what I learned about acting on Riverdale is just to make your reactions to things really quick. In a lot of more like grounded, slower-paced shows, you can have more of like, you have more time to think. You have more time to really react to a moment and take a beat and take more time in the moment. But in a show like Riverdale, it's all like bang, bang, boom. There's so many things happening all at once. So you kind of learn to like react to somebody else's line as you're saying your own line, so that in the editing, it doesn't look like you haven't like acknowledged what the other person has said. I love playing Britta. She's super confident, she's spunky, she's strong. I think my favorite trait about her is that she's spunky. Like she doesn't really care what everybody else is doing. She just does what she wants to do. Like even though the other girls aren't playing football, like she doesn't really care. It seems like a really cool thing to do, so she just goes for it. And she's really driven, so I love that about her. I would say what me and Britta share, well, a lot of my characters are just different versions of myself. I always try to bring as much of myself as possible to the characters I play. But the biggest thing that I would say that I share with Britta is the confidence. I don't feel confident all the time, but I do appear as a very confident person, and I try my best to keep my confidence up and believe in myself. And I think that I share that trait with Britta. My audition process for Britta is kind of funny because I got the script and Britta was described as a tall, blonde girl. And so I figured it was one of those roles where, you know, they're describing her as sporty, but really they're gonna choose someone who looks like a model or something like that. And I'm short and muscular and I'm only 5'3", so I thought, oh, okay, they want like, you know, some tall supermodel looking girl to play this character. So I was like, never in a million years will it be me. They already have more than two redheads on the show. So they really don't need me for this. And it was the night before my first day on another show that I did called Schmigadoon on Apple TV. So I had no time to get the audition done. So I called up my friend and we did the audition right away. I basically just looked at the sides, memorized them really quickly. It was only 2 scenes and each of the scenes had like 1 line each. So it was really short, barely anything. We put them on tape right away and I completely forgot about them and went on to my next project. And like 3 weeks later, I got a call saying you got the role. So sometimes it's the ones that you least expect. And because you're not concerned about the outcome, because you think, oh, I'm never going to get this, those are usually the roles that you tend to book for some reason. My favorite part about playing Britta so far has probably been the football. I had so much fun. Those were night shoots when we shot all the football scenes. So we were shooting overnight. And so it was like the middle of the night, like the dark, muddy field, and we were just running. And I feel like that's the first time I really understood like why people are so obsessed with football, because it's so exhilarating. Like I was just running down the field and like I score my touchdown and everyone cheers. Like it was so much fun and a really great experience. I think the episode that shows Britta's character the most is probably the episode where I go into Cheryl's dreams and try to save her from being locked in the dreamscape that she's in. I think that's my biggest episode just in general, where I have the most amount of screen time. But I think in that episode you really get to see like how loyal Britta is and how she's so determined to break Cheryl out of the mental jail that she's in. And she's really creative in coming up with different solutions. And that was just a really fun episode to shoot because there was so much imagination involved. I think my favorite episode of my own is the episode that I was just talking about where Britta goes into the different dreamscapes. My favorite episode of Riverdale itself is the first episode. The pilot is really awesome and it's so intriguing, and the way that the characters are introduced is so interesting, and I just remember being so excited about it when I was younger because I read the comics when I was little. I was just so excited to see how they had adapted these characters that I loved into this kind of darker, grittier, a little bit older version. One thing I wish I knew before I started acting, it's interesting because I started acting when I was 4, so I don't really remember a time before I started acting. I would just always encourage people to be themselves. And that's what I would tell to my younger self as well, going into this industry, is that I feel like there's this story that people tell that, you know, you have to be this or you have to be that. But honestly, things started coming to me when I just really accepted who I was and who I am as a person, and just used my own energy for all of the roles and didn't try to be somebody that I wasn't. So that's the biggest thing I would say, is just to be yourself. My audition process for Firefly Lane goes on for a long time. I actually originally auditioned for Tully, and then I auditioned for another role in season 1, the character that makes fun of Kate for getting her period and then gets punched in the face later in the episode. I almost booked it, but I had a conflict with another show that I was on at the time, so I couldn't do it. And I was really disappointed. I thought, oh my gosh, this is gonna be my like big break. I'm never gonna get another opportunity. And then 2 years later, I get the audition for Lisa Karen and I book the role, and it ends up being a 10-episode arc on this amazing show, and one of the coolest characters I've ever played. So yeah, it really goes to show that everything happens for a reason. I think the biggest thing that I share with Lisa Karen is the type A personality. I definitely have an idea in my head of the way I want things to go, and when things don't go that way, I can get a little bit upset sometimes. Yeah, that's definitely the thing that I share the most with Lisa Karen, unfortunately, is that Lisa Karen is very particular, and has an exact way that everything should be played out in her brain. And she definitely thinks that if the world just did everything that she said, that the world would be perfect. And I do have a little bit of that in me as well. The two people that I worked with the most on the set of Firefly Lane were young Kate and young Tully, played by Allie and Roan. And we had so much fun together, the three of us. We're like the true depiction of blonde brunette redhead. Sorry, Riverdale. But we just had so much fun together. We would eat lunch together in Roan's trailer, and just talk. And I still hang out with them now that the show's finished, so yeah. The most challenging thing about playing Lisa Karen is probably how particular she is, and the comedy as well, which is also particular. She's such a specific person in when I talk about Lisa Karen, I always go into like my Lisa Karen physicality, because she has such a specific worldview, and like I was saying before, she really has a specific idea of how everybody else should act, and she thinks that the world should basically be run by her. So yeah, it was really fun to develop her viewpoint, and to find the comedy within that. So because she takes herself so seriously, how does that add to the comedy of whatever scene it was? Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe to Young Entertainment Mag.